Hi guys, this is Brianna. I did my media depiction project on radio that was filmed in 2003. So a synopsis of the movie: Radio, whose real name is James, is an 18-year-old male that lives in South Carolina. He's known for walking the streets of their town with a shopping cart during the day. He had never caused anyone any trouble, and individuals wanted it to stay that way. One day, Radio has had an encounter with a few of Coach Jones's teammates that left him terrified. People didn't understand Radio, and they saw him as a target, someone to make fun of. What they didn't realize is that Radio was about to change all of their lives for the better. No matter what challenges faced him, he stuck through it, and all with the help of his advocate, Coach Jones. Coach Jones took Radio in as his own, hoping to change his life for the better, and he did. So who is Radio? Radio is an 18-year-old male. His real name is James Robert Kennedy. He has an older brother. He lives with his mother. He enjoys the simple things in life, like, as you saw, riding his shopping cart down the hill and collecting different things through town that he puts in his shopping cart. He loves the radio. He loves to dance. He loves his friends and family. He is compassionate. He is strong. And he also has an intellectual disability.
I was hoping someone that wants to run their mind. I'd be able to ask you what exactly is wrong. To hear her speak those words,
well, the doctor never could give me a name for it. Say he the same as everybody else, just a little slower than most. I got an older boy, Walter. He's fine and all.
Daddy?
Our ability to empathize through these stories, with these stories, can be transformational.
It's my own thing that I can do.
He died a while back.
See what listening to Audible can do for you.
I'm
Just
sorry.
text listen forward to 500 500.
Got your hands full.
But it got me working 10 hours a day at the hospital, some days more. So I'm wondering where he's at half the time and worrying all the time. Because I figured they only gonna need one excuse to put him away. James is a good boy, Coach. He got himself a good heart. Most folks just don't take the time to see it.
So here you could see his mother talking about Radio, or James, and how important he is to her, but people just don't take the time to understand him and get to know him. So how Radio was viewed. He was viewed as weird and crazy, someone to stay away from, a bother and a distraction, as well as a severely handicapped black man. Here's the interaction between the principal and Coach Jones regarding the bus trip that they were going to take for the game.
No, he is not getting on that bus. Now, he is not a student. We don't even know how old he is. He has a handicap we know nothing about. And what if he has some kind of a seizure or something?
He's not the one that's going to have the seizure. It's got nothing to do with that.
If you are suggesting that I am overly concerned about my students being in the company of a severely handicapped black man, I assure you that I am. But my concern is not necessarily for my students. I'm not so sure we're trying to help somebody here. Or whether he's being used as nothing more than a glorified mascot.
You know me a hell of a lot better than that.
So here's just one of the examples of Coach Jones advocating for Radio.
No.
So this next part, I'll start with what the slide's going to be about, and then we'll go into the video and the article. Oftentimes, many individuals do not have experience working with individuals with intellectual disabilities. There's becoming an increase on the mainstreaming of students with disabilities, making this population more known and understood. However, when it comes to law enforcement, oftentimes, if an individual fits a profile, they will be arrested. In this case, Radio was arrested because he was a black man with a disability walking around on Christmas Day delivering presents. The police officer had thought that he stole them. When Radio began to, in the officer's opinion, act strange and flustered, the officer arrested him. At the time this movie was filmed, there was no training for law enforcement on how to work with individuals with disabilities and what signs there might be if somebody has a disability. The new cop was not aware of who Radio was and how the town had grown to know and love him. He made assumptions based on Radio's disability that were not relative to who Radio was as a person. This was Radio's mother's fear. She was always scared that when she left him alone for the day, he could be arrested. This cop ended up making a fool of himself by making the assumption that he did that Radio was committing a crime. In this scene, Radio was delivering presents to people in his community, presents that he had received for Christmas Eve but wanted to give to others. Also, you'll see a sandwich that Radio was eating at the end of the clip, and that was supposed to be the police officers. I just found that part funny because it goes to show that he did make a mistake by making the assumptions that he did. Okay, so here's the video that goes along with what I just said.
It's commercial free, all born in law.
Kiss me.
What lunch you got there?
Yeah.
Mind tell me where it came from?
Presents for me.
Hold up. It's a pretty decent Christmas.
No, that's for me. That's for me.
What's your name, son?
Radio.
Radio, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, keep it here.
Hey.
Hey,
No.
I said keep it here.
No.
I said keep it here.
Hey.
Let's go. Hey,
Radio.
Here. Here, you go.
That you, new dog? Yeah. You got a sandwich in here in case you're hungry.
Now, you see how much you're paying Dr. J for in Philadelphia? How much?
Making this harder than it has to be, son.
Can't be for one season. Ain't nobody makes $500,000 playing basketball in 1 year.
Hey, who you got back there, Kojak?
Not sure yet. Won't tell me his name.
Ain't been here a week, got himself a John Doe.
We'll see who it is. When's the last time we had anybody for Christmas anyway?
Hell, I don't know. Shit.
Hey, Radio. We're gonna get you out of here.
So here you can see the mistake that the officer made and how Radio reacted when he was being arrested. He really had no idea what he did wrong. And the cop didn't really know how to handle him because he thought that he had committed a crime, but he just didn't understand the characteristics of Radio's disability. So this goes along with criminal victimization. So I found an article stating that in 2015, Tennessee launched a training program for all law enforcement on how to engage and communicate effectively with individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. Oftentimes, individuals do not know how to handle a situation involving an individual with an intellectual disability, as it's shown in this movie. This is a great training to have launched. All need to have experience working with different types of people in order to better understand them. A quote from the article, "This initiative is good for those people, for officers who serve in communities across the state, and for effective law enforcement." Tennessee joins a new national trend in recognizing and preparing for the intersection between law enforcement and people with disabilities. I think this is very important because a lot of officers really don't have an understanding, as well as a lot of people for that matter. So in regards to when they come in contact with a person with a disability and how they should talk to them and handle the situation is really important.